channel. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Today's review is going to be on a watch which I have reviewed previously on this channel. Now, the watch I reviewed was a Retangula by a company called Rdunae, and the watch I did was a 6105 8000 homage. Now, I liked that watch so much that I decided to get a color option, which I had shown in the original video that I did, and that is the sandblasted grey version. Now, the watch is available usually on AliExpress and it's sold on the Chrono store. However, I could not find that watch on for sale, but I do know, speaking to Chronos, that the watch is currently in production. They've run out of all the color options. So the one I did was the one in the black and gilt. I really did like that watch. I liked it so much that I wanted to check the other color option, and at that point the black one was also sold out back then. So I've got this one in the sandblasted grey, and let's check it out. Let's see what it's got to, let's see what this watch has. And it is slightly different to the black and gold one. There's a few little details which are different, so we're going to touch upon that. Now, we all know how they come. They come in these black hard plastic cases. Just a quick note, I've seen a couple of comments, and just to educate those subscribers, just because the watch uses a box like this doesn't mean they're all from the same place. These boxes are just the standard now, so you know there must be a factory out there supplying a lot of these suppliers with it. And obviously with these stickers, anyone can just put their sticker on there, whether it's Steel Dive, Chrono, San Martin, whoever. Proxima have started using this as well. The only one that doesn't use it, in fact, is Heimdallr. But you know, it's just a box, it keeps the watch safe. So here's how the watch comes. It's wrapped in bubble wrap and it's got that plastic covering the face. From Retangula you also get a little booklet, which is a user manual, and then you also get this warranty card. Okay, so we don't need those two here. Just want to focus on the watch. Let's start off with covering some dimensions and specifications. So let's give you guys some specifications and dimensions. So specifications wise, you've got sapphire crystal. You've also got a 120 click unidirectional bezel. You've got a 316L sandblasted case, and you've got a screw down crown with a water resistance of 150 meters. Movement that runs the watch is a Seiko Epson NH35 movement, which is a 24 joule hand winding and hacking movement, which beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour, which translates into a sweep of 6 ticks per second. Dimensions, you've got a diameter of 41 millimeters with a thickness of 12.5 and a lug to lug of 48 mil with a lug width of 19 millimeters. We move on to the actual review and going into the details of the dial, etc. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. Make sure you also hit the notifications bell so you're up to date with all the latest reviews, and check out the description, which will have any links to the affiliated product or any links that are relevant. Now, while I was just looking at this watch, they also sell it on something called WR Watches. If you're not used to that website, that's also a home for a lot of the Chinese homage watches, and you might find the newer brands on there, the brands that aren't so popular or the brands that aren't actually featured on AliExpress. So I'll leave the link to that website within the description as well. So this watch, and I found this information out on WR Watches. Now, the name of it, Retangula, you know, that's the name of the model. The company is actually called Rdunae. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Now, the reason it's called that, it seems like a strange name, but this WR Watches does have some useful information on there. And this is actually an anagram for something in, I believe it's Italian. So my Italian isn't up to scratch, a bit rusty at it. So what it actually stands for is Roma di uno non adifacto est. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I know I have a few Italians watching this channel, so please correct me, guys. So that loosely translates into Rome wasn't built in a day. So that is why this watch is called Rdunae. So let's take a closer look at the dial. Now, of course, that is the main difference with this watch, and what you can see on the dial straight away, you've got this gorgeous matte grey with a gradiented effect on the dial. So you've got a lighter grey in the middle, and that sort of gets a bit darker as it goes out towards the outer edges of the watch. Now you've got a mix of applied and printed features on this dial. Now with the printed stuff, you've got a printed logo. If you look just below the 12 o'clock marker, you've got the Retangula logo, and underneath you've got a Retangula automatic. Now below the hands at 6 o'clock, you've got the water 150 meters proof printed, and the 150 meters being in red. And around the dial you can see you've got a printed minute track. Now the printing on this watch is exceptional, really clear. Now you'll notice that on the original, well, not the original, the color option that's black and gold, and the one in black, the actual logo is applied. However, this logo is printed. Now further to that, you've also got a sandblasted dark grey chapter ring. Now it's a mix between like beige, grey, whatever you want to call it, and there's no markings on the actual chapter ring. Applied, that's the indices. So you can see this classical dial, very much inspired by Seiko. So the dial itself has baton indices at the 12 o'clock, a dual baton indice, and at the 9 o'clock, and also at the 6 o'clock. The other markers are just squares, and the indices are applied as I just mentioned, with a polished silver frame around each and every hour marker. You've also got a polished date frame, and within the chamfer of the date frame you've got this textured look, which surrounds the date window. Let's turn our focus to the handset. Now the handset is very recognizable. It's the typical 6105 style hands used, and you've got a great amount of detail and finishing on the hour, minute and seconds hand. So the hour and minute hand, you can see they've got a polished chamfer edge, and the center of the hands is actually brushed. You've got linear brushing, and the seconds hand, you've got the classic traffic light look, and that's fully polished. Now let's move on to the Lume. Now what we can see on the dial and what it looks to be is there's a clear difference between the hands and the Lume pip on the bezel insert and the actual dial. The dial looks to show Swiss, well, Swiss or not Swiss, it just seems to show see-through superluminova. And with the handsets you've got a slightly darker Lume, so that might just be C3. This is with some UV light, and you can see how bright it is. The bezel insert itself is a matte aluminium bezel insert with a 60-minute timer on there, and the Lume you can see is flush in line with the 12 o'clock mark. Now I do like that Rdunae have gone with an aluminium insert. Now a few people might feel shortchanged because it's not ceramic. However, you know, this watch is, you can clearly tell it's aimed at an enthusiast, and it was possibly made by an enthusiast. So I'm actually happy that they've gone with the aluminium insert. There's just too much ceramic and sapphire and everything, so that can sometimes spoil the look of the watch. However, with this watch and what it's trying to do, I think aluminium was the better choice. Yes, it will get scratched, but I think that's just part of the charm. And what you'll also see is where it says water 150 meters. Now I have no doubt in my mind that this watch can actually do 200 meters. However, they have gone with the 150 meters proof because they want to take they want to go back, sorry, to the watch's origins, and that is closer because it's trying to homage the original 6105-8000 from Seiko. Moving on, let's have a look at the sapphire crystal used. Now it is a very low double dome sapphire crystal. You can just see the dome that's beneath the crystal as well. You do have AR coating. Now just under this light, the blue AR coating is catching some glare. However, without this artificial light, and if you were to sit in a room, then the AR coating isn't too bad. I think even on the gilt one, it looked like there was more AR coating than this. And you've got the fit and finish of the crystal is superb. Now obviously this crystal adds that practicality, it makes that scratch resistant. Obviously this is the upgrade from the older one, so the Retangula gives the 6105-8000 a modern touch. Crystal does also have a chamfered edge, which will give you a lovely little refraction around the minute track around the dial. Now the bezel itself is a very classical coin edge style bezel, and this is the same bezel they used on all the different colors, and you can see the sandblasting is very even and very well done all across the bezel itself. Now let's see what it sounds like. It is a 120 click bezel as mentioned. The clicks are very precise, and the motion itself is very fluid. I was a massive fan of the black and gilt one. They do move slightly differently, but one's not worse than the other, and you can see that it does line up perfectly straight as well, so that's a bonus when it comes to this watch. So well done to Retangula for making such a fluid bezel action. Looking at the case in detail, now you can see that there's no different, how can I say it, like dimensions to the case. So you don't have brushed edges and you don't have polished edges. That's because the whole case is indeed sandblasted. And the case back, you've got a fully polished case back with that turtle on the back, which we've seen on the previous model. Now moving back to this finishing, the finishing is really smooth as far as I can tell, and there's no issues at all. It's been very well done, and I think it is quite pleasing for the most part. Now it's obviously up to you to decide whether you like this kind of finish. Myself, I don't have any issues with it. I do like this. It's slightly different to the San Martin Zin homage that I did, which did look like it was primer coated and possibly unfinished. This one doesn't look like that. This one looks like it's meant to be sandblasted, and the case is very smooth to touch as well. So of course it's had some application after it has been sandblasted. Overall, it's really good from my eyes. We are pretty much done with the review. We just need to do a little wrist shot, see how it looks. Wrist check, Seiko Diverse chronograph. That will be getting reviewed. It's one of my latest additions, so we'll have a look at that in another video. Now with this Retangula, it does come with a tropic strap. Now initially in my first review, in the first experience of this strap, I found it quite weird because it was just so flexible. But I think as far as straps go, this is obviously quite close to what the original would have come on. So I do like it that this is part of the whole homage feature of this watch. Now strap itself, it is extremely flexible and very comfortable. What I will say though is Rdunae made a 19mm lug width because they want to do homage to the original and get it closest as possible. I understand that. However, the strap themselves, it's their own strap. They should have made this at 19mm. The strap itself is 20mm, so it is pressed in quite tight and it doesn't give that natural flexibility. So it is, you have to kind of force it when you want it to go around your wrist. Other than that, I mean, it's a small issue, you know, and you'll be able to fit in most other straps. However, anything which is a bit harder, with the rubber that's being used, you are going to find somewhat difficult to squeeze it in. And a 19mm is not a standard strap width, so again it's quite difficult to get a strap if you want to change it. So just have a look. You got the little tail that's going to stick out the back end. I'm not a fan of that, but there's the watch on the wrist. Now my wrist is 6.5 inches and the 48mm lug to lug is well below what I deem the Goldilocks zone for watch lug sizes, lengths, in comparison to the wrist size and what you should wear it on. So 6.5 inches wrist, not a problem at all. Still sits within the wrist there. Very light and very comfortable. You won't be able to tell it's on, but this grey colorway option, I think it is quite good, fantastic. Now what are my final thoughts on it? I think my mind has not changed much from the first one. I do prefer the black and gilt version over this, but I do like what they've done with this style as well. I really love that gradient look. Now grey is fantastic. It's really nice to see grey on watches. I mean, a grey and orange would have been, you know, out of this world on this watch. I think it would have been really something special to look at, because you've got the Dawn Grey limited editions from Seiko themselves. I think that would have modernized it as well slightly. However, for what's on there, I think the small criticism I do have is at the 12 o'clock, in the other color options, you've just got a logo, and I think they should have stuck to that. They've made that area just slightly busy by writing Retangula Automatic on there. I don't know why they've done that, because they made all the color options the same. It's just this style they've added some more things to it which are not really needed at all. Other than that, I love everything else. I like the aluminium bezel insert. I like all the smaller features that they have on here, and the fact that they're trying to homage the older 6105 8000. So I think it's a good example of a retro watch. I think whoever gets this will be extremely happy. So that's it. This is my view on this watch. Thank you everybody for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Remember to subscribe and like the video. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.